I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about this new Air movie, and all the stuff I've heard, I agree with it. People are calling it the new modern age Jerry Maguire. In fact, I called it that very recently. I would say this is the newer generation's Jerry Maguire. But I'll tell you why this movie deserves all those high praises right now.
But a shoe is just a shoe.
Until my son steps into it.
I'll be honest with you, I've never been like a huge Nike fan. I think growing up, I was really more of a Reebok guy, especially when they came out with those Reebok pumps. Remember those pumps? Pump it up, pump it up. I remember D Brown at the slam dunk contest, pumping up his sneakers right before he went for a dunk. I thought that was pretty cool. I also had an uncle that worked for Pony. Who remembers Pony? If you're a boxing fan, then you should know Pony because a lot of the boxers at the time wore those sneakers in the ring. But I had a lot of friends who were huge fans of Nike and they rocked their Jordans, and unfortunately some of them even got their Jordans stolen because I live in New York and that's what they did back then. But this movie is not going to be talking about all of that stuff. This movie basically talks about how the Jordan brand came to be and how it took one person on the Nike side and one person in the sports industry world to make it all happen. There is a movie that talks about Sonny Vaccaro and Nike pursuing basketball rookie Michael Jordan, creating a partnership that revolutionizes the world of sports and contemporary culture. So even though I wasn't really a huge Nike fan, I was fascinated when I heard about the story of Nike teaming up with Michael Jordan, and that being the first time that type of collaboration has ever been done, and having an athlete very much have their own brand, especially when it's connected to a major brand out there. A lot of people don't realize that Nike wasn't always top dog in the sports marketing world and all that, especially when it comes to the world of basketball. I mean, I remember Converse commercials with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and of course Adidas, because I was a huge fan of Run DMC and I know they rock their Adidas. How do you pronounce it? Is it Adidas or Adidas? I've been hearing it pronounced so many different ways and I didn't even know it was a German company. So learning about all that stuff and how Nike pretty much went from third to first because of a deal like this has been very fascinating. And I think that's why this movie is so successful, because it does something that some of the most successful kind of sports type of movies really get to do. I have to say, I think one of the reasons why Air is such a great movie is because it checks off the right boxes that you would find in any fun, entertaining, and successful sports movie. One, you're rooting for the underdog in this movie, and in a way, Matt Damon's character of Sonny Vaccaro is an underdog. Nike is pretty much an underdog because they're losing out on the sneaker race and they're trying to find their ways to compete and make it out on top. Two, you have compelling and really interesting characters that you are actually rooting for. Not only is Matt Damon's character someone you end up really wanting to win at the end of it, but you also have Chris Tucker in this movie who does a really great job of playing Howard White. And for all of you who are maybe worried about the Chris Tucker kind of persona, and you watch Rush Hour, all he does is yell out loud and scream, Fifth Element, all that, what do you think he is? Chelsea Clinton?
$50 million? And who do you think you kidnapped, Chelsea Clinton?
With his high-pitched voice and always screaming and always talking really fast and all that. He does that here, but it's a lot tamer than it was in the past. And I think that comes with maturity and with good directing. Yes, Ben Affleck is actually directing this movie and starring in it. And I think a movie like this really showcases Ben Affleck's directing prowess. He does such a great job at working with this cast and really getting the heart and the feel of this moment in time. I'm a huge fan of the 80s, and of course this story takes place in the 80s, and he really puts you in that mode and that tone and that feel of being in the 80s at this time. Everything from the music, from the visual aspects, to the clothing, to the hairstyles, to the fashion, everything that's surrounding the 80s at that time. He really paints a great picture and puts you into that mode, and I felt like I was being transported back to that period. But it's really the performances that he was able to drive out of these people. And yes, his own performance was great as well, but for the character of Phil Knight that he plays, he wasn't really on screen a whole lot. The main character in this film is Matt Damon, and it's kind of funny to say that, especially when it's a movie about Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand, but you have this guy from Nike being the main focus of attention in this film, and he has a great great surrounding cast around with him. Like I said, Chris Tucker was phenomenal. Jason Bateman as Rob Strasser was so good and kind of like his right-hand person, the person that he works very closely with along with Ben Affleck. Marlon Wayans is in this movie and he was tolerable. He wasn't doing the shticky comedy that he does in the past and all that. Like, he was actually very nicely directed and was very serious. Yeah, he cracks a joke here and there, but it was watchable. It was very, very believable and felt genuine. And maybe that's the thing I should say here, is that everything here in this movie felt genuine. As far as the humanity, as far as the people are concerned, the chemistry, why they do what they do. This movie had that heart, and one of the best performers to portray that was Viola Davis playing Michael Jordan's mom. She plays Dolores Jordan and she works very closely with Matt Damon's character of Sonny. And it's really those two that are working together to try to see if this deal can come into fruition. Now, I don't know how historically accurate that all is, because if you watch certain documentaries and you read certain things, then it doesn't really sound a lot like what they portray in this film. It really does feel like they took bits and pieces of what really happened and kind of formulated their own story and their own telling of what happened. And I'm not mad at that at all, because I think it's the brilliance of the writing and the forging of all the little truths and kind of portraying it in their own way that really made this movie work and made it very digestible for everybody. It was really great to see Matt Damon and, Ben Affleck work together again. Yes, they did something recently with The Last Duel, but this felt more of like their wheelhouse. Now, even though they didn't write the script together and it's Ben Affleck, they're doing the main duties of directing, it was just really nice to see them together. You could tell that they really had a great time making this film. However, I do have to argue in calling this a sports film. I mean, do we classify Jerry Maguire as a sports film? And they do one thing that's extremely interesting here. Now, I'm going to go into like a brief spoiler moment right here. So if you don't want to hear what I have to say, check out the chapters and you can skip ahead. By the way, if you've made it this far in this video, why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already? I would really appreciate that. And if you like this and what you see, then you'll get more of that stuff, especially if you hit that notification bell, get notified every time a new video is uploaded. Michael Jordan's not even in this film. He has like maybe 2 or 3 lines of dialogue and you barely even see him. You don't see his face. Yeah, you see him being portrayed through marketing material and of course the famous silhouette and all that. But the person who is acting as Michael Jordan, you don't see them at all. It's almost as if it's not important to even show him. Why? Because they are really talking about the forging of the legacy of Jordan himself, almost as if the name carries more weight than the actual person themselves. Bold and interesting choice here to do, and like I said, the main characters in focus are Matt Damon and Viola Davis, and I think whatever it is that they did, it really works well. But I felt like this movie had it all. It had humor, it had drama, and it had that third thing to check off that made this movie a very successful sports movie. The people you were rooting for wins at the end, and everyone gives everyone high fives and hugs and kisses, pop your bottle of champagne moments and all that stuff like that, and you are very happy to see the people that you were rooting for walk away as the victor towards the end. Now, of course, not everything has to be all glory and roses at the end of it, but if you know the story of what happened, then you know Michael Jordan became very successful, more successful as the infamous silhouette for Nike for the Jordan brand later in life. And don't get me wrong, they really made you feel and they put out there that their opinion is that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time on the court and off the court as far as Nike's concerned. But Sonny and Phil Knight were able to save Nike, save their division. And the one thing that they really put out there too is that it's not only just saving a company, but it's saving the people who work there, who were in danger of losing their job. And they really found a way to hammer that home. And in this climate that we're in right now, it was really refreshing and great to see that type of importance and emphasis put into a film like this. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I can't recommend it enough. At the end of the day, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. I really liked it. And if you're into this type of movie, then I think you're going to like it too. But with all that being said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter at all what I think. What matters most is what all of you think. Is Air the type of movie that you're looking forward to watching in the cinemas when it comes out? Let me know in the comments. Have you seen Air already and you just happen to come across this to hear my thoughts? Let me know all about that in the comments as well. So while you're commenting and all that, again, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Hit that notification bell to get notified every time a new video is uploaded. If you're looking for an audio version of all the stuff that we do here on the channel, then search for Low Key Geek on your podcast platform of choice, where you could download this and all the other things that we have up there for your downloading and listening pleasure. And I kindly ask, if you are in a position to further help support this channel and help this channel grow, then definitely check out the affiliates that we have in the description of this video. Perhaps you could find something very awesome for yourself or for a loved one, and by doing so, you'll be helping support this channel at no additional cost to you. And for that, I thank you wholeheartedly. That's it for me today, y'all. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. All right, peace out, y'all.